Yeah, I'm fine.
Yeah?
I'm fine.
Just sum up the mood in the camp. Job done in terms of promotion. Still the title to sort out, but in many ways, time to get a sense of satisfaction about the season.
I think because we still have to because we still have to win the title officially. I think that still gives us something to look forward to, and also we want to finish strongly. It'd be a shame to have such a strong season and then finish on a little bit of a downer. So we'll go all the way until the last game and you know, try and get the best performance out of the team.
You're facing a team who are battling for their lives. Does that make it a little bit better for you that there's something riding on the game for them?
We're gonna face quite a few teams now. That I think we got QPR, Reading, Rotherham, Cardiff. So we'll still have some. I'm not going to say a role to play, but we have games that are tough. I mean, we played against Blackpool away, and you know it was 0-0 draw. So we know how tough it can be against teams that are fighting for their lives. But from our side, from our point of view, we just want to keep our standards high and perform as we've been doing this season.
How important is it that you do that for the integrity of the competition? Because as you say, you can make a lot of decisions down there, can't you?
Yeah, I don't think there's any concern from our side. I mean, I think if you try and install a winning culture, you can't really make any difference between the opponents or the dates play on, or friendly games, official games. You want to win them all, and so that our goal will be to win all those games, and we'll see if it's possible or not.
How disappointed are you to see Paul lost his job at Reading this week?
Yeah, especially because there are all these type of situations where you can kind of empathise because any manager in English football we know will pinpoint which ones are the difficult jobs, and Reading is a difficult job. So whatever the reasons are, it's difficult to know whether these decisions are the right ones or not. And from my perspective, I know he had a very difficult job to do. We spoke after the first game we played against them, the home game we played end of 2022, and it seemed at that point that they were doing a terrific job with the tools that they had. So yeah, managers union a little bit there where I'm never happy with that, but yeah, it seems to be just a trend in football that I disagree with very strongly, because it doesn't make it's not good business practice. You wouldn't do it in any other industry.
And with regard to Burnley's future now, how big an advantage have you got at the moment? You know where this team are going to play next season, as opposed to probably a good half a dozen in the Premier League that don't know, and maybe a good half a dozen in the Championship. You know where you'll be next season. Does that give you a nice little advantage when it comes to recruitment?
I think since January we've been planning for both scenarios, Championship, Premier League. Obviously now we can get rid of one of the scenarios and just focus on the Premier League, so that makes it easier for sure. And but then obviously you realize how big the task is at hand, and so we spend a lot of time preparing for next season whilst trying to, as I said, remain competitive for the next games. But it's a tremendous task, and every day we spend preparing, making sure that we use a little bit to our advantage the time that we have.
Have you made decisions yet on your six loanees you've got at the moment? Do you know what's going to be happening to them?
No, like I said, the right order is to speak to the clubs first. We've engaged conversations with some clubs and we're getting some feedback, but not all the clubs are in a position where they can give you an answer now, and we roughly have an idea of the players that would want to stay and their opinions, but we've just got to do it right by the clubs we're talking to first.
How big an overhaul does the squad need, would you say, if overhaul's the right word? Because you've obviously got a fresh challenge next year in the Premier League.
I don't like to speak about overhaul, because I think but you have to progress the squad, you have to evolve, and the squad will evolve. So there's no doubt the squad will evolve. Look, the Premier League is a big jump, but in the end, I think whatever we do has got to be business that is smart for the club, and But that's the difficulty. You can't just go in the market and get any player to just come and join and say, there's so many things we got to take in consideration, and then we feel that we can build a competitive squad. Yeah.
And what about you? I mean, I'm guessing thousands of Burnley fans woke up this morning to more headlines linking you inevitably with another top job in the Premier League. What about you?
I don't waste questions questions. I don't waste answers on my future. I said it day one of my job here at Burnley, in anticipation that one day there might be a question like this. So crack on. I'm focusing on Reading and the next games.
And just for the record, I mean, you seem very happy here. You seem to be getting an awful lot of job satisfaction here at Burnley. There's another big job still to do next season, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, this is something that is the reason why I chose for Burnley. I said it early. Again, you can trace back to my very first interviews before I even played a game with this team. I chose for people, and I feel in that I made the right decision. And yeah, it's an enviable place to work in. Trust me, especially when we keep talking about managers getting sacked left, right, and centre, and we've got the infrastructure, we've got talents. It's an enjoyable place to work in. So yeah,
it's actually a massive compliment, isn't it, when you think about it? If at this stage in the season you've not even finished yet, you're already being talked about as being linked with a top 4 club in the Premier League. It's a massive compliment, that, isn't it?
I couldn't say whether it is or whether it isn't. It's not at the forefront of my thoughts at all. And I think wherever I am, in my head, it's always the biggest job in the world. Always.
And you're happy?
What's that?
And you're happy?
So, I mean, I know the question, but what can I say? Am I going to say I'm not happy? How? We're 14 points clear at the top of the championship. So we're all right. We're all right. But the key part is always happy, never satisfied.
Thank you.
Right.
Thank you. Hi, Vinny. You okay?
Hi there. Yeah.
In terms of team news for this weekend, Anas Saruri and Josh Brownhill, how are they both?
Yeah, both positive feedback. Whether Browne will be fit for the weekend or not, we'll see. But it's not as bad as last time he rolled his ankle for sure. And Anas is fit and available, and if he gets through tomorrow's training session, all right.
With Jay Rodriguez as well, do you have to almost, because we're obviously, the end of the season will be upon us very, very quickly, and because he keeps getting niggling injuries, do you almost have to take a step back and think perhaps best for next season potentially with Jay?
No, we think he's fine. We think he's nearly there. He's training well. And I think it'll just be a decision on a little bit of game time and seeing when is the right moment to fit him in, because he's been off the pitch for quite a considerable amount of time, but he's nearly there, so that's good news for us.
Josh Brownhill nominated for Championship Player of the Season, yourself as Manager of the Season. On Brownie, I know he's part of a clutch of players that were here last season and are such an experienced player to have at your disposal. Just how big an asset has he been for you this season?
I think when we speak about both sides of the game, you got one aspect where he's been involved in goals. He's had assists, goals himself. He's improved, I think, throughout the season as well. But in games where we've had to mix it up and when we've had to be physical, he's one of those players who's given us that grit as well, that little bit of aggressiveness in the team, and a very complete season for him, and he's definitely a player that will be at his place in the Premier League. Yeah.
We're playing a team that has made a change in the opposition dugout and is going to have an interim manager in place in Noel Hunt. Does that change your perception of what you might be facing? Because obviously it's a new man in the dugout who might have new ideas about how he's going to set his team up. Does that come into your thinking at all?
Well, I think we explained it to the players today. There's not much. You can go off the last games they've played and expect some consistency, but who knows? A new manager can change everything he wants to change. From our side, it's I think the fifth time or the fourth or the fifth time we come up against a team with a new manager. as and when we have to face it. So it's unfortunately it's not something we're not used to. So we'll adapt, we'll be flexible, and we'll definitely prepare on ourselves, but also with a number of ideas in that we can apply on the day.
We've already spoken about the summer and the job that's going to have to be done this summer to make this team ready for the Premier League. In your mind, how ready is this squad now for the Premier League, and how much work do you think it needs to be done to get it up to the standard?
It's a difficult statement to make. I think the honest answer is I don't know. I think what we'll do is try and make sure that wherever we see an opportunity to strengthen, we do, whilst we kind of also expect there's a lot of players in our team who will raise their levels with the Premier League. But that's the big unknown. That's the thing, is when you kick off those first 2-3 games, it's whether the players will, one, raise their levels, and two, whether the players you're going to bring into the squad will be up for the Premier League task. So I'm not saying I don't know what we want to do, but to say what level you're going to be at in next year in the Premier League is a little bit like when you asked me the question in the beginning of the season for the Championship. You will assemble a team that we think is competitive, and it could be a good surprise or a bad surprise, but we'll do it with we'll be the most informed possible.
Do you anticipate having also some tough conversations with players whose time at the club might be coming to an end as well?
There's no tough conversations, only honest conversations.
And I guess just finally for me, obviously the club is currently under a transfer embargo. I appreciate it's obviously beyond in the background at the moment, but have you given significant reassurances that it's going to be lifted by the time it comes to the summer, and it's not going to impact you in the summer in any way, shape, or form?
Yeah, so we couldn't do a transfer now if we wanted to anyway. So, like I said, my understanding is that it was an administrative error, and that is being rectified. So we're on track we've got everything lined up to do what we want to do, and we're not expecting it to be. We're not concerned about it for the summer.
Thank you. Good luck this weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you.